All right. We're live. I'm ready.
Good.
Hey, let's just start. Yep.
Testosterone, we have a problem.
This is Outside the Manosphere, where two guys with zero credentials dive past the cliches of masculinity and try and become better friends by actually talking to each other. It's weirdly hard, but we're doing it anyway. Join us.
Welcome to Outside the Manosphere. My name is Carlos.
And I'm Skip.
Howdy, Skip.
Nailed it.
How's it going, Skip?
It's going okay.
I see you're in a different room than I've seen before.
No, I'm just in a different place.
Okay.
I'm at the counter in the kitchen. Yeah.
I see.
That's because I'm standing because I got off muscle relaxants yesterday and my sciatica hurts a little bit more. So I'm trying to stand and just kind of like you'll see me just kind of wiggling around because movement is better than standing still.
So it's just like a daily thing for you, huh?
It is right now. Yeah. Like I've had bouts of it before where it kind of comes and goes, but it's been pretty consistent and annoying lately.
Are you still doing the roller derby thing, or you have to kind of put that on hold while your sciatica's flared up?
I paused this week. I was thinking about, there's a practice tonight actually that I don't normally get to go to, and I was thinking about going, but we'll just see. I don't feel like roller skating is going to hurt me because it's, mostly moving, and that seems to be just about as good as anything, as long as I'm just kind of consistently moving.
Well, it's a glide. It's a gentle glide as well.
Standing still and sitting are bad, but laying down and walking are good. How about you? How you doing?
Good. I'm just wrapping up my cold here. It's still a little congested, but I feel just fine now, and I've been working, and everything is going all right. And I went to a wedding over the weekend, which is nice. I haven't done anything kind of like that level of social in New Brunswick like ever, so that was really nice. And
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Was the wedding someone you knew, or?
Yeah. It was my preceptor, the woman that was like my sort of guardian while I was still a student as a paramedic. So she was my real time like teacher. Yes, she got married to her longtime partner, and it was nice. It was a paramedic wedding, which was neat. There was a lot of references with a lot of microphone references with the trucks and the shifts and that kind of thing. So it was neat. I'd never experienced a wedding like that before.
And did you like knowingly lean over to Jody and explain all the references? You're like, oh, don't worry, I got you.
Yeah. There were a couple of little moments like that where I'm like, let me just fill you in on the inside here, because I'm a part of the group now. No big deal.
Let me explain this.
Paramansplain. I like it. So what else, man? Any other news in your days?
No, man. My life has been pretty boring the last week because I was told by the doctor to lay in bed. So
yeah,
that's, like I said last week, mostly what I did. I can't just sit in bed though, so I ended up like running errands and doing things. But
right. How's that smile of yours?
Smile's much better. I got my stitches out yesterday, which is actually, I'm gonna just say that's one of my joys for the week, is getting my stitches out of my mouth, because eating is like doable now without pain. So that's lovely. That's a big nice change.
Well, and a mouth injury too heals up pretty quick because of the environment, So yeah, that's pretty neat. That was fast. So I was a week.
Yeah. 10 days, week in your time.
Yeah, we can like, dude, everything's a blur for me. Like the past few months, I've just been like, when you're a kid and you just kind of spin around, everything's dizzy. Like that's just how I've been, like in general. And and I'm waiting for that to sort of stabilize, but it's probably a continual thing for the near future. Well, I see you've got something for Man of the Week here. Looks like the Frogs of Portland.
The Frogs of Portland. Yeah.
I have no idea what this is.
You really don't? Oh, that's great.
I don't. No, I don't know anything about it.
Well, this is going to be fun. So as you may or may not know, our listeners may or may not know, depending on how much they pay attention to the news, President Trump sent a bunch of people to Portland, and he was describing it as, this war zone. Because of all the protesters and everything, and like in the past, and they've had Antifa movements there, which, is now he wants to make it into a terrorist organization, which the idea of being anti-fascist, being terrorist should be an alarm bell all by itself. But also the idea that there actually is an organization called Antifa that is like
organized
well. Yeah, organized and
headed.
Is not a thing. But in any case, he did send people, and if you haven't seen the news, there have been some fairly horrific things happening. There was you can see pictures, but there's also video of a priest praying and trying to talk, and ICE agents shooting him in the head with pepper spray.
Right.
Doing things like that, and then laughing at him, and just like clearly peaceful people. And in the lead up to this, before they did send people, I had friends in Portland that were sending videos just like online that are like, it's totally calm. I love this city. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Like this is downtown Portland right now. It's empty. Like people are walking around their business. So there's this kind of whole, made up hype about Portland being a war zone so that they can send troops. This is the beginning of militarization in America, and sort of a war on our actual populace, which you were talking last week about, Nazi things, and how the GOP does have to start proving that they're not Nazis if they want to not be called Nazis, because this is actually something that Hitler did. He sent troops into left-leaning cities to stir up trouble. But Portland was not having it. And Portland has not been violent. And like there was a clip online of a guy showing up in a inflatable frog outfit.
Okay, yeah, I think I have seen that.
Okay, so this is sort of the thing, and he has become iconic because like it's very clear. You just like you don't need to see a video, you don't need to see anything. You see a picture of a guy in an inflatable frog costume and you're like, this guy is not dangerous.
Right.
Like there's nothing you can do that's dangerous from inside an inflatable frog costume. Of course, they sprayed pepper spray into his air intake.
Right, which is super dangerous. Super dangerous.
Yeah. But now people have been lots of frogs in Portland, lots of like inflatable unicorns and things, and they're just it's beautiful because they are making a mockery of this propaganda. And it's really lovely because it communicates it so well in just an instant. You see a bunch of people in inflatable outfits on a street corner and the militarization. You're like, well, I know who the bad guys are.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I have seen photos of like you have guys in riot gear and like they're standing in formation and they're kind of not even encircled, just kind of like among people, and not just in costume, but in like ridiculous, like puffy, exactly like you were saying, not just the inflatable ones, but like they're wearing these big extravagant things in their heads, and like they're obviously extraordinarily silly. They're not even like like it's not like a Halloween thing. There's no way they can fight somebody wearing these costumes. They have like Mickey Mouse gloves and that kind of thing. Like it's not a dangerous crowd at all.
Right, and that's why this is my man of the week or people of the week. Although I think it started with a guy, is just because to kind of do something where there really isn't a way to spin it, because we have this multiple media echo chambers. And you can't show what's going on in Portland right now in the far right, and even make your viewers or listeners believe this ridiculous story because the second they see an image, they're like, well, this is clearly bullshit. So to be able to cut through that media environment just visually, I mean, it's like the satire of the situation. It's a beautiful piece of resistance that's very smart And just kind of wonderful and affirming. And in this, even though something absolutely terrible is happening, the military is going into our cities and taking over a little bit more and a little bit more and encroaching. To be able to make somebody laugh at that time while doing something good is kind of just tremendous.
And a big difference between like now and, Germany in the 30s is that everything is being recorded now. Everything is being broadcast. Like this stuff is just it circles the globe in minutes. And I think that, well, not even I know people are so aware of it that they're taking advantage of that. It's okay. Well, you're not going to be able to do this anymore the way it was done in the past because there's cameras everywhere. So they're taking advantage of that, and they're dressing up and they're making it a clown car. And I mean, that's such a great way to fight back because, I mean, you can't fight back with these people with guns. And the one thing I wanted to say regarding ICE and shooting pepper balls at this guy and shooting this guy in the head, they also shot at a journalist's open window. She was just sitting in her car, like she wasn't doing anything. They fired a pepper ball into her car, for no reason. She wasn't doing anything. And then, even like you were saying, they're pepper spraying the air intake to these inflatable costumes, which is extraordinary. You can kill somebody with that. If they're not able to breathe, their throat will close. They'll go into like an asthmatic shock, and they'll just die. Like that's super dangerous. But the difference between what was done before and what was done now, one, there's no consequences. Like these people are getting let off by the government. And they're aware of that. But two, like you don't see police doing that. You're seeing ICE doing that. Maybe in some cases police are, but the police have protocols of using these weapons. They can't just, randomly fire off a pepper ball because they feel like, I mean, they have in the past, but in general they don't because they'll get fired from their jobs, from the police force. You know what I mean? They're disciplined and they're trained in how to use these weapons. These ICE guys, they're just scooping them up and they're saying, okay, you're hired. Here's a weapon. Be good. You know what I mean? And they're I think these people that are getting recruited, they're not you and I, and they're not there for the greater good. They're there just because they want to be nasty, and not everyone, of course, but they're not even joining because of a set of principles. They're joining because this is going to be fun. You know what I mean? And that's who's firing the pepper balls, and that's who's tormenting these protesters.
Well, I think you're misrepresenting. You're saying that they're scooping these people up and giving them a weapon and saying, "Go be good." I don't think they're telling them to be good. I don't think that's happening at all. I think there's, a very vested interest in not being good. Yeah. But I will say that from what I've heard, the police have been more protective of the protesters. That they have not been a worry. Yeah. So that's good. It's nice on those rare occasions to have really good feedback about the police. Yeah. And this is one of those situations. Yeah. And you were saying about all the cameras everywhere and the eyes. This is also these frog costumes and these unicorn costumes. It's a really great way to get more eyes in this kind of media environment, to get more eyes on this situation so that people that frankly wouldn't care or wouldn't be paying attention know a little bit about what's going on, which is one of, I think, we talk about resistance and things like that, but there's a really large percentage of our country that just doesn't pay attention.
I think the majority, actually. The majority.
Yeah, I think it is. It is the majority, which is, a big problem. But and the one defense I'd have for all those people is they're trying to live. And and I know that, I feel like it's important to be informed, but at the same time, I recognize the effect that it also has on my life. When we talked about doing this podcast and we said we weren't going to make a politics podcast, and we try not to, but
we haven't. I mean, we haven't. Pretty,
but
the past couple episodes have been a little politic heavy, but we're generally pretty good about not doing that.
But you do feel, but the reason that you said you didn't want to do that is because it's depressing. Right. Yeah. Even the comedy shows like John Oliver last week tonight, he makes jokes all the time about the show that tells you bad news and then makes fart jokes. Like, it's like, it's just like, yeah, there's a lot of depressing stuff going on, but like it is important to be aware, and that's something these frogmen are doing.
And that's also, the reason I mean, I get my news from a lot of sources, and most of them are serious, but like I really enjoy watching. I haven't watched as much Colbert as I have recently, but just because I think Colbert can be a little smug at times. I agree with everything he has to say, but I've watched a lot of Jimmy Kimmel before. It was cool. And Jon Stewart for decades. And John Oliver I've kind of tuned out of, but like I love John Oliver. I just haven't he's not in my algorithm right now, so I don't get fed him, and that's kind of how I like most people, that's what I click on is whatever is like, served up to me. But a big reason why I pay attention to a lot of these comedians is because they're serving me this news, but it's with a smile and a fart joke, and like I can chuckle with it as I'm digesting like the horror. You know what I mean? And it's, I'm internalizing it, I'm recognizing it, I'm learning about it, and I know what's going on now. But at least I'm not like just pissed off absorbing it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, and these guys are, as we saw with Kimmel, which it ended up working out for him in the end. These guys are risking their careers in some cases. I think I haven't watched this week's episode of Last Week Tonight yet, but this week's episode is talking about the Paramount merger that's going to basically take over HBO.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. This is John Oliver, for anyone who doesn't know.
John Oliver is talking about the company and the people taking over him, from what I understand. And, he's been outspoken against that kind of stuff. And Paramount has folded like a collapsible chair on every occasion possible. So there's a real danger that they don't get to keep doing what they are doing as all these companies fold. So they can be our backup man of the week.
Yes. Even as you say that, though, like I would not be surprised if John Oliver was canceled in the next however period it takes for that merger to happen, because they're not going to be approved without some concessions and from the government. And one of those concessions, if passes prologue, is going to be get rid of these guys who are making fun of the president or drawing attention to like the wrongs of this administration. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's canceled. However, I will say I think this can't go on. I mean, it can, but I can't imagine that this isn't going to be a reactive situation for all these guys that are being canceled, because I mean they're all extremely popular people who are about to not have a platform. I can't imagine that. I mean, I'm hopeful anyway that they'll all like kind of merge together and do something, but I don't know. Maybe they'll just go. I saw Colbert is going to be voicing some character, I think in Star Wars or Marvel or something. So I hope that he is not just kind of like going off into entertainment. Yeah, going off into entertainment. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see how that.
It seems unlikely. He was a Daily Show correspondent way back when, and then he got his own show. He's always been around the political sphere. Yeah. And it feels to me like these guys, if they get cut, they're going to lose audience because they won't have the same kind of platform. But I do think that they'll keep going in some form. Yeah. We'll see. So, Carlos, something has come up a few times this week, one of which I sent you on Facebook. And as you know, I've been watching a lot of horror movies. And I watched this little jam called Fresh. It's a Stan Sebastian joint. And hold on.
Of Hot Tub Time Machine fame.
Yes, of that as his most famous role, surely. Yeah, so, and he is not the main character, as is often the case. The main character is someone named Daisy Edgar-Jones, who I didn't recognize, but she does a great job in the movie. And, it's sort of that final girl sort of thing with horror movies. But the movie, without ruining anything else, the movie starts off with her kind of trying to do online dating. So she goes on a date with this guy, and he's got sort of the wavy, fluffy hair and the a scarf about his neck, and he takes her to an ethnic food restaurant, something that you wouldn't choose if you were like a burgers and hot dogs kind of guy, and that he asks about splitting the check, not doing the, I'm going to pay because I'm a man thing. And it, just like there's a certain look to him, which you expect a certain kind of guy, but you also kind of get these undertones that he's not really the guy that he seems to be. And the date, goes awry, and then he says some terrible things to her, as you might expect. But I felt like it was a really good example of something, and I think you know what that is.
I believe you're going to say the words performative male behavior. I guess I kind of added the behavior in there, but a performative man, a performative male.
Yeah. Maybe since I just did that long description of this scene in a movie, what is performative male behavior? What is a performative male?
Well, first, I'd like to, I guess, give credit to Jessica, right? Because she's the one that kind of brought this to your attention, and you sent me a link to what was it, a brief audio clip about it. Performative male. So again, like so many things, it's something that I had never really had a name for, never really given it a ton of thought. And honestly, I don't have anyone that I have one example, and I'm gonna bring it up in a bit, but there aren't any performative males that I'm aware of in my sphere of social life or family or anything. Mm-hmm. But a performative male, as I understand it, or as I would define it, is sort of a man who sort of wears a mask of progressivism, whether it's like where it has an NPR shirt, and I think in the example that I was reading is a person who like wears trendy glasses but doesn't even have a prescription in them, wears like a beanie, and it's kind of I don't want to say effeminate, because that's kind of, I think for guys our age, maybe we would describe it as like, oh, they're kind of an effeminate male.
Sure.
But they're just sort of like have this sort of outward expression of sensitivity and their finger on the cultural pulse, and just they seem all around up to date with how a man should be with a woman, and what a relationship between a man and a woman should be, but the key word here is performative, and that's actually a sort of a lure to draw women in, and they actually don't feel this way, and they don't have these ideas, and they don't have these thoughts, and whether it's intentional or not, they're actually toxic on the inside, and that inevitably rears its ugly head as the relationship grows. Is that kind of how you were taking it as well?
Yeah. I think it's, to kind of boil it down a little bit more, I think of it as like a faux feminist. So they dress and look like they think a feminist acts, and maybe they even fool themselves into thinking that they're feminist on some level. But when they interact on a personal level and in their life, they still expect some more traditional behavior. They still expect that women make less money, or make the food, or do the cleaning, or whatever. Right. And it is just sort of this performative thing. And you know what it actually makes me think of as you were talking, is it makes me think this is a particular form of gaslighting. Which is your favorite thing.
It is. I was also thinking this is where you'd find petulant vulnerability too, I believe, because you have these sort of sensitive, quote unquote sensitive guys, and whether they are or not, they're still going to use their sort of masked identity to weaponize their vulnerability, and then they're going to say this is well, there you go, I'm splicing two things, but I feel like this is maybe an all-encompassing toxic male, even though they don't appear to be, which is ironic.
No, I think you're right. And I think what makes them a particularly insidious practicer of petulant vulnerability is that they probably don't do it in the way that Brett Kavanaugh did, where they have a yelling, throwing tantrum. They probably do it in a way that comes off as actually much more vulnerable, and actually much more emotional, but while still manipulating the situation to be about them when they've done something wrong.
Right.
Much more like manipulative fashion. I talked about with petulant vulnerability how it's like a little kid when they get in trouble. This is like a tween when they get in trouble. And then, and they're like, I might have done this wrong, but you're always attacking me. And like they'd managed to turn it. Yeah. And like I'm having feelings. Do you want me to not have feelings? Like a much smarter way of doing this, because they can lay into that performative male role. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that this could be something that these two things go together in a particularly like toxic, terrible way.
This is the guy that worries me for my niece, because she's barely a teenager. She's only had loving men around her, like honest loving men around her. She's been in a loving environment her whole life. I hope that she's got defenses, but like somebody who comes in with this level of manipulation, I don't know that she's ready for that. And this is the kind of man that worries me in this day and age. You know what I mean? Because just like any of the others, like you don't know when they're bullshitting until you do. You know what I mean? Until you're done with them. As you were saying though, I feel like this isn't the evolved, I'm going to kill myself to make you do what I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, and I'm going to do a rare thing and actually talk about the way that this affects men poorly, because one of the problems, and this was in the little reel I sent you, was that they're having these performative male contests where people are aware of this aspect. And so people will like dress up in cardigans and you know, like read a book next to their fixie bike, and and like they're kind of doing a send up of this thing. But the danger of that is, for one, there are actually nice guys that dress like this, and I know nice guys is a loaded term, but because, you know, there's like saying you're a nice guy is like a trigger for a lot of women.
I say maybe genuine guys. There are a lot of genuine guys that are actually reading these you know, feminist books, or they're dressing this way, or they have this behavior, and they actually mean it, and they're genuine. Whether they're nice or not is a whole other thing. But yeah, I think that's maybe another way of putting it.
Sure. So the danger is that it colors all these guys that really are feminist and are genuine about these beliefs and do want to interact in equitable ways in relationships. It makes them a danger. And it's one of the reasons that women are dropping out of the dating market, is because they get people that are performative males, or they get people that are non-performative males that are just jerks. And they're like, I'm done with this, you know, like, you know, maybe I don't want to be alone, but I'm not going to keep rolling a loaded die, you know, when it's stacked against me. And it's one of the rare things, and this is actually the only thing that my wife and I ever really argue about with feminism, is like there does have to be a way back for guys that are genuine and are kind and are nice and do all these things, because women are dropping out of the dating market, and that's fair. Like, I understand why they want to do that, but we have no road back together either, which is a real worry. And moreover, these contests, by making fun of these, you know, soy boys and beta cucks and just kind of feminist, nice gentlemen that really believe things, it risks making the traditional masculinity that is kind of truly toxic and hurtful towards men and women the only true masculinity, where those are the only guys that seem genuine and seem authentic.
Right. Is that something that was in the that link you sent me, or is that out of your brain?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
No, that was not out of my brain completely. That was
no, but yeah, it was familiar to me. I just couldn't remember if you had mentioned it before, or if I had listened to it or read it or whatever it was. Do you have any examples, like in your life, of these performative males?
I do have one example. Yeah.
I got one too. So yeah, but you could go ahead. Mine's a little bit different, but it's going to open up another avenue of discussion, I think. But go ahead.
Let me think about how I want to do this, because this is a person I still know, and
and you don't need to do it if you don't want to. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't like. I'd be happy to talk to you about it, and it is a frequent point of conversation whenever this couple comes up. But it's a very clear situation from outside of a performative male.
Okay. Well, this one, this person's not in my life. And it's not quite the same thing, but it is. So when I was, I don't know how old I was, 24, I was hitchhiking through Louisiana back to Texas. And because I've had a couple of hitchhiking little stints in my life, and this one I was a little older. It was actually when I realized, I'm too old to be doing this. Like I don't look like a young kid on an adventure. I look like a drifter. But so this guy picked me up, and in some, I don't know where, somewhere in Louisiana, and he was, you know, muscular. He was wearing like a pink shirt, like a pink golf shirt, and he had like this perfect blonde hair. He was handsome and really, really, really nice. And he was a Christian, and he was describing his faith and like this and this. And this is where I think the avenue kind of goes another direction, because I think there's performative Christians as well, and I think it's the exact same sort of vein. But this isn't what it's about. Like there was something about his behavior. Like he was only kind to me. In fact, I stayed at his house. The funny story is he had a 4-year-old daughter who her and his wife weren't there. They were off somewhere else for the weekend. But his daughter had like cut her own hair, and there was like just a mess. And I slept on the floor in their house, and I had like just her hair all over my backpack. And I'm like, man, I'm like a murderer or something. I've just got like this hair all over me. But anyway, he was only kind to me. He was only nice to me. He was, God bless this, God bless that. But there was something about him. He was too sexy to be like this physically, you know what I mean? And there was like a sexual energy to him that I didn't believe what he was saying. I'm like, you're too, and he at no time did he make me feel uncomfortable, like he was coming on to me or anything like that. But there was like, he was too ripped, and he was too just done up. I'm like destroying my story here, but like I didn't believe him, I guess is the short of it. I didn't believe that he was this devout Christian. I didn't believe that he was this devout husband. And I didn't frankly believe that he was even a straight man. Like there was something about him that was just not right. And like I said, he was only nice to me. He opened his home to me. He was kind. I wasn't mean to him or anything. And I am talking about it now all these years later, but there was something performative about him that I didn't believe him. And I wonder to this day what he's up to and what his life is like now, because I don't think that he was living his genuine existence at the time. But no, I have no evidence to support anything that I was saying.
I was going to say, he might have just been a nice guy.
He might have just been a fantastic human being, but there was just something about him that just didn't seem right to me. And you know what? Like, for all I know, he was just so put together that he was taking care of his body, he was taking care of his mind, and he was just so satisfied with everything in his life that he was caring about his appearance. And like, but there was just some charge there that like I didn't feel it. I didn't feel that it was genuine. And so yeah, I have no evidence to say back up anything that I was saying. But that's really the only, like, I don't have these people in my life. Like I don't if they're disingenuous, I can sniff them out, I feel like, and I just don't have them around. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't have much else. But I do think there is performative religious people as well that profess to be a certain way, and they don't live that experience. And that's why I really, really admire like true, not just Christians, but true like religious people that like live the way that they believe. That they don't push their anything. They don't judge you. They're just living and let living, and they hope for the best, and they hope for you. And they when they say, "Can I pray for you?" they mean it. And I admire people like that. This person didn't seem like that to me. And I admire those guys that have that performative flair to them, but they're not performing. They're actually who they say they are, and they're living this sort of right path. And I appreciate that. I feel like you and I are kind of at least on track for that sort of thing, whether we've reached this self-actualization or not. I think that we're on that trajectory.
Well, I'd like to think so, but I know my failings.
Yeah, well, me too. Sure.
They are not few. The one thing I'd be careful of, Carlos, is that you're a good-looking, fit guy that's positive, and you that might come back to bite you. There might be people around you that think you're too good to be true.
So I'm not. Thank you for the compliments, and I'm not by me moving forward with this. I'm not necessarily agreeing with you. But I have had people, and mostly women, I think, who didn't like me like right away, and they just didn't believe me, and yeah, I mean, I've been on the other side of that, where like, and maybe they're sniffing out, like I was with this guy, some aspect of my personality that like I hadn't cleaned up enough at the time, and they could detect it. I don't know, but no, I've had people that like just kind of unfairly immediately judged me, where they're like, yeah, I don't like this guy, and have you ever had that before, where someone just like, I don't like you?
Oh yeah. I actually, the funny thing is that when I was young, grade school young, it seemed like the people that immediately I took like a disliking to, just like a feeling in my gut, they often ended up being my best friend later.
Oh, really?
Later on. But like as an adult, I'd like to think that I have a better sniffer, and oftentimes I do kind of get that feeling, and usually it's borne out. there have been one or two occasions where I think somebody probably just reminded me of somebody else that was terrible.
Yeah.
And they got, I didn't treat them any differently, but they weren't somebody that I tried to get to know better. And that's probably my loss. But, one of the things that was interesting to me about your story, and you kept mentioning performative Christians, I think that's probably most Christians, unfortunately.
Maybe so. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people haven't read the Bible, don't really know what's in it. The people that I've known that embody Christian values the most, on some occasions, have been really nice Christian people, but a lot of them are actually atheists that just kind of came to similar value systems from philosophical viewpoints.
Right.
And they tend to live those, I've found they tend to live those values more strongly, I guess, because they fought their way to get to them. Like, I would consider you living, like, I don't think either of us is Christian. I know I'm not, and I don't think you are.
I'm not either, no.
But I would consider you to be somebody that lives like largely a Christian life by the values that are traditionally espoused to Christians.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. With you as well.
Yeah. And I don't see that a lot of times when I meet Christian people. I feel like there is that sort of performative nature. It's like I'm claiming to be this thing, but I don't really know what it means, and I don't really want to treat people that way unless they happen to like check all my boxes. And because when you look at scriptures and all those things, and I'm not a religious person, but I've looked into this more than I think most Christians have, and I find that that's often the case with atheists. Like, Jesus said to treat poor people well. Jesus said to treat immigrants well. Like, these are things that like the religious right does not care about at all. They do not see poor people and immigrants as humans a lot of times in the way that they treat them. So like, yeah, I think, performativeness in general, I think, and maybe there's people listening to us thinking, listen to these performative assholes.
Oh, they've already changed the channel, Skip. I will say though, something that I think I'm really grateful to have Jody in my life, because going back to like when I've been not even accused, I've just had like a vibe or something from oftentimes a woman who just didn't like me for no reason. And it's not like, it's very few and far between, but most recently there was a woman that like I found out she was like got well within my like comfort zone. Like I thought we were cool. Didn't like me at all, and we've sort of ironed that out now. But like when I found out like how much she disliked me, it hurt my feelings. I was like, man, she thought that that I was a piece of shit this whole time. And when I say that I'm grateful for Jody's, because she had like this. I don't know. There was a soberness to her response to it, with like, well, she doesn't know you like the way I know you.
Yeah.
And like she didn't give you the chance to like, she never gave it the chance to like to really know you. And like, she's like, you're like a wonderful person. It's just like so nice to hear from the closest person to you. Like, yeah, hey, don't worry about that, because I know you and I know how you are, and you're like. I mean, Jody has said that I'm the best man in her life, which is wonderful, because that's exactly where I should be as her husband. You know what I mean? And it's just really nice to hear that from have that support from somebody when you need it most. Because I mean, it's really hard to hurt my feelings, and this woman did, because I thought we were friends, and we're good now. Like I said before, she even apologized to me. She was going through a hard time, and I understood where she was coming from because of her hard time. But at the time, it was like, man, that stung. It stung to be accused of this being a performative male. I didn't have the language for it at the time, but like that's what she was accusing me of, being a performative male. And didn't like it, Skip. Didn't like it at all.
How did you two work through it? I'm curious.
Well, I don't want to reveal too much, because we're still friends, and I don't want to reveal too much about her personal life. But
sure.
She worked through a situation that she was experiencing, and it was hard. Like, it was like legitimate a hard thing. And I think that whether she was right or not, I think she kind of maybe took it out on me a little bit, and just because I was there. And I think there was always a little tension between us anyway, just because we did clash here and there about certain things. But I always thought they were healthy sort of disagreements, and it wasn't anything that was like going to do any lasting damage. But I think it was only doing damage because of the situation that she was in. And
sure.
But yeah, we worked through it. She returned. She initiated the conversation. She came back to say like, hey, this is what happened, and I'm sorry. And I'm like, wow, that was, I mean, good for her, because that was a situation she was in that she recovered from, and she did the work for herself. And like, you know, I mean, I'm sure she doesn't think I'm an angel still, but like, she at least recognized like, hey, this was unfair what I did, and you know, all I can do is apologize. And so yeah, it was a good situation. I'm glad we worked it out, and we're not super close now, but we're still friends online, and we're
sure.
You know, if she needed something, I would be there for her. I hope she would know that. But yeah, that's kind of how that concluded.
All right. Well, as we were talking about it earlier, I'd like to highlight like that's what actual vulnerability looks like. You know, you found out somebody didn't like you. You didn't throw a tantrum. You didn't call her names. Your feelings were hurt.
Right.
And and you shared it with somebody that you're close with. And that's actual vulnerability to say, you know, I know I'm a grown male, and I there's this person doesn't like me, and I'm not gonna attack her. I'm gonna tell somebody I'm close to about how that hurt me.
Right.
And we're gonna talk about it. And that's what vulnerability looks like. And that's what being brave is. And I know that there's a lot of like manosphere men that are going to disagree with that. Just being like, well, you're just being, I don't know what they'd say. A lady, you're being a lady man. That's my great impression of somebody in the manosphere. Cause I don't know. But yeah, like, that's not brave. That's being weak. But like it is, you are a man, and we have grown up with these narratives of men being strong, and we haven't seen a lot of vulnerability. So to take that step and like say, yeah, somebody hurt my feelings. That can be hard for men of our age.
Yeah.
Maybe not younger men, to their credit, but like, yeah, that can be hard.
Well, I think also it's not even just it being hard for people of our age. I think it's hard for everyone of all ages, because what I did, and this is me maybe patting myself on the back a little too much, but what I did, I think, runs the gamut of generations, is rather than like, and I had moments of like indignation where I'm like, why would she say that about me? Or why would she think that about me? But I think what I did that was maybe healthy was that I looked at her situation. And I said, look, this is something that she's reacting in an outsized way because she's going through a hard time. And rather than me being pissed off and like, man, fuck her, and just like whatever, I was like, well, I get it. Like she's doing what she has to do. You know what I mean? And like, whether it's, you know, right or wrong, or whether it's going to help her or not, like this is what she feels she needs to do for herself right now. And maybe she's got some validity to her accusation, in, you know, to a degree, maybe not. But this is what she needs to be doing right now for herself, because she's having a really fucking hard time. And I think that's the difference, is it maybe showing some compassion rather than making it all about yourself. I mean, it was about me because she was accusing me, but knowing the source of it, I think helped me a lot. And I think it's something that I think a lot of people, men and women, it would help them to consider whenever they're feeling attacked or feeling wronged in some way. Just like, well, where is this coming from? And is it really you? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. And just knowing the source of it, I think, is a huge, huge help.
Yeah. And I think what you're describing is what we performative males call empathy, which is a 4-letter word in the manosphere because they don't know how to spell.
Well, Skip, are you ready to fall in love?
I am. And I have the question up if you want.
Lead the way, Skip.
Carlos, we've actually talked about this, but I think there's a new angle to the second half of this question.
Okay.
And I'd love to hear more about it anyway. So how close and warm is your family? Do you feel your childhood was happier than most other people's?
This is 2 parts. Okay. So how close and warm is my family? I think, well, so my parents are divorced. My mother's remarried. I think on my mother's side, it's extremely warm. Well, maybe my sisters would disagree. I think it's extremely warm. It's extremely loving. We roast each other a lot. Like, I think it's getting a lot better now. Like, my sister, I think my younger sister having a daughter, I think has changed that a little bit. In fact, I have to catch myself like, I'm being mean to my niece right now because I'm roasting her. And that's just what I grew up doing. You know what I mean? That's how we would show affection. But it's not healthy either. You're tearing somebody down to like be funny. And it's just, it can hurt someone's feelings. But so there's a lot of that. But I think you can't do that to somebody that you if you don't feel comfortable with them. You know what I mean? And I think that's a big part of it. Like to answer the second part of the question is, I always thought we had a happy childhood. I know we had some traumas that like would say otherwise, but like when I really think back on it, like the hardships we endured, it wasn't an actual happy childhood.
Sure.
And we have talked about this before, but I think what made it sort of sane and what made it sort of healthy, as best as it could be, is that my mother really, really, like I felt love from my mother. And I always felt, I mean, she's still kind of the glue that holds our family together. So she made me feel safe in an unsafe sort of place, just in general. But yeah, I feel like we're close. My sisters and I and my mother. My father, I don't think he ever really knew he had a really unhappy childhood, and I don't think he ever really knew how to be, and I don't think he still does, and he's really sick now. So, I don't, I don't feel super loving with him, from him, to him. I don't hate the man, of course. And I my older sister's taking care of him more than any of us, because he does need help. But on my mother, from my mother's side, I do feel like there was a lot of love and a lot of happiness there. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling now, but I do feel like there's a closeness to us, and there is love, and I think we were as happy as we could be in a shitty situation growing up. I don't know. I think we all came out okay. We all have level heads. We're all pretty stable. Yeah, I think it all worked out in the end. So, what about you, man? Repeat the question. That was a 2-part question that I've already forgotten.
Yeah, it was, how close and warm is your family, and do you feel your childhood was happier than most other people's?
That.
Okay. Yeah, my family was not so close. We're kind of very and very traditionally waspy, I'd say. Where there's, if I may, there's kind of a performative aspect of family. Like these are our roles, and as a son, I feel I'm loved as a son more because I'm a son than because of the person that I am.
Okay.
And so I've always kind of felt sort of like that, like, I love you, you're my son, is kind of like the answer, not like you and I do, where we go in depth about why we love each other and and the twinkle in your eye. But I do feel like, conversely with that, I do feel like my childhood was pretty happy. I didn't realize or want for those things, and I spent a lot of time with my cousins growing up, and I was really close with my cousins. And my grandmother and grandfather on one side and the other lived next door to each other. So I grew up running back and forth between houses.
That's nice.
And another set of cousins lived around the block. So there was a lot of family around when I was young. And that was pretty nice. Like, there are definitely things that, I reflect on, that I remember, and they color who I am, and show me that maybe I was missing something, and maybe I wasn't as happy as I thought. Like, right. One of my more vivid memories is, often my mom worked at Apple, was often being there at night, working, like when I was like 7, just playing on a computer because she had to work until my bedtime.
Right.
So like just being in an office, and I was friends with the security guard. Like that's probably not a great, it's probably not a great thing.
And the security guard was like, fuck, I got to babysit this kid.
Yeah, I think probably. Yeah. In fact, the security guard had the same name as my dog. And at one point my dog had brain surgery, and my parents told me that George had surgery. And I was like, oh my God, is he okay? And like, they were talking about my dog, and I thought they were talking about the security guard, because like I spent more time with him. So yeah, but I was pretty happy. Like I had my cousins, and I grew up, like several of us grew up sort of at my grandma's house, because living in the Bay Area, a lot of our parents had to work a lot, and then we moved out of the Bay Area, and they were kind of gone, and that was before internets and things. So I didn't maintain that kind of closeness, which, that was a little older, but yeah, not super close with my family. In fact, I haven't even mentioned my sister, who's a half sister. She's 7 years older than me, which technically, if you're doing the like oldest child, middle child, youngest child dynamic, makes you tantamount to an only child in that framing.
Right.
And we've really never been close. There have been a couple times we started to get closer, but just it's just not really there. Like my parent, she was a very troubled individual throughout her youth, and that's when my parents had attention for kids. It was her. So,
Right.
and there was a lot of me looking at my family, seeing my parents work hard and seeing my sister reacting to the world like she did, where there wasn't a lot to emulate. There was a lot of me looking at things and going, well, I'm not going to do that.
Well, that's positive.
It is positive, but it has made me, it has made it hard for me in life as well sometimes, because my parents were so devoted to work that I'm like, well, fuck that. I'm not going to be like, live my life for a job. And there's like a certain amount of healthy, finding a job that you care about and that is important to you, and feeling of service. And like, I do want to feel of service and feel like I have a purpose and stuff. But my mind is such that I'm like, well, I'm not going to get that from work, even though I can't find it otherwise either.
Right.
So that was a little long and rambly as well. But yeah, I felt like I was pretty happy in childhood. But yeah, my family's not particularly close and warm, although we still talk, we still talk pretty regularly. So
right. It sounds as complicated as my upbringing as well. I mean, it's probably most of us too. There's shades of gray throughout, the spectrum. But you had the same sort of adult reflection of your childhood that I did, because like I said, I'd always grown up thinking like, oh, everything was great. I mean, I knew it wasn't great, but like as far as like happiness goes, I'm like, well, I was a happy kid. And when I look back, I'm like, well, maybe I wasn't actually so happy. And
right.
And it's probably why I just like burned out of high school when I did. I mean, happy children don't do shit like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I think, again, like another one of my biggest memories is playing by myself, So yeah, I think it's one of those reflection things where you're like, I was happy at the time, but maybe I wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I was missing something and I didn't know it till later.
I think that's exactly I mean, it's probably most of us though. If you really, want to really look at it, everyone was missing something, and that's what maybe adulthood is trying to find that thing.
Well, especially I think both of us are at the tail end of Gen X, and that's kind of what Gen Xers are famous for, is being untethered.
Being untethered. I mean, we were between the generations. We were between like the advent of the internet. There's a lot of in betweens there too. So I mean, we're rightfully untethered. We were born untethered.
That's what I'm going to get tattooed across my chest now.
Born untethered. Born to be untethered.
Carlos, what's your joy for the week?
Well, I've got a few joys, and you're just going to bear with me for a second. One of them was something I wanted to mention before, and it's really not going to mean anything to anybody but me and the entire town of Austin. Back in 91, 92, I think, there was a murder, like a quadruple murder. There were 4 girls, like 2 of them were 17, 2 of them were 13, I think. They were murdered horrifically in my neighborhood. It was at a yogurt shop, and they burned the place down, and it went unsolved.
Weird joy.
Yeah, well, well, you know what? It's a sober joy, and it'll make sense in a minute here.
Yeah, no, I think I know where you're going, but yeah.
So this thing went unsolved for up until like a few weeks ago, and it was like this traumatic scar on the community when Austin was a lot smaller. The girl went to my middle school just before I got there. I would have been there. I went to I was in 6th grade, and middle schools are 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I was in 6th grade, but I was at a different school, and I switched over to 7th grade. Anyway, she went to my school. There was like a time capsule for her, and they planted a tree in the courtyard of the school. And it was just a really, really sad time. And one of the suspects, I knew I was 12, and he was 16, and he would play with us in like the apartment complex we lived in. And he was like a lot of fun. He was, I look back and like he was a troubled guy, but when he would play with us, he was like a kid. Like he was our age playing with us, just bigger and more agile and stronger because he was 16 years old. And he was accused for many, many years of being one of the 4 young guys that were accused. 2 of them went to prison for a while. And I was always just like sad about it. I was like, man, like Maurice, like I just didn't see that part of him. But I could also see him going astray too, and maybe like being a part of that. But it was all during the time we knew him. Like this whole thing was going on while we were like playing with him in the creek by our apartments. And there was this documentary on HBO that was released just also like a few weeks ago, or maybe a couple months ago at this point. It was a good documentary. It was really weird watching it because we were just like in it. Like it was somehow a part of our lives because we were like right there. And
that sounds really weird.
Yeah, it was. And just seeing the documentary was like a time capsule of like our youth. And anyway, so I don't know. I guess it was because the documentary was released and like maybe some more eyes got set into it. They found the killer through DNA, and they hadn't been able to do it before. And this guy's been dead since like 97. He was like killed in a shootout with cops or something like that. But he was the one who did it. And he was also accused of like some rapes and some other murders. And like he was the guy that did it. And like the joy, it's like a sobering joy, is that like it's over. You know what I mean? Yeah. For all these people that it touched, it's over. And also that Maurice was exonerated. You know what I mean? Like he's dead now. Actually, he wasn't. Right. He like I said, he was a troubled guy. He died. The cops killed him. Like and like he was attacked. They were going after him, and he was fighting back. And I think he stabbed one of. Like he was in retrospect, in his adult years, he became a dangerous man, and they killed him. And so he's been dead for some time now. But like to know that he didn't murder these 4 children. I mean, he was a kid himself at the time, but that he didn't like sexually assault at least one of them, and then like murder the others was. I mean, I was glad. I was glad that he wasn't the one, that didn't happen to him, because that wasn't the person that I remember. And I don't know. It's nice that it's over. It's nice that he was exonerated. And that's one. I'll quickly go through these. And then another one was this past week. I don't know. I felt really alive this past week because like I've had some interesting calls. Like I went to a dead on arrival as this dead guy that was there. And then I went to a wedding, and then one of my calls was like a little boy had broken his arm playing. And like, I don't know, it's just like, there's just so many things. And also like yesterday I backed the ambulance into the station, and man, it ruined my day, dude. Like I was just so upset that I did that. I caused a little bit of siding damage, nothing to the vehicle or anything, but like I was just kicking myself the whole day, and I'm still like a little upset about it, but like that I had done that because it's such a buffoon thing to do. And but anyway, I kind of lumped it into this feeling alive thing. I felt like, okay, I went to this somber moment where this man was dead, and his next of kin was there, and it was sad. And then like I went to a wedding, which was joyful, and like this, I had this other experience with this little boy that had hurt himself, and his parents were nervous. The young parents were nervous, and I don't know. There was just so, and then I'm including this like this sort of regret and like embarrassment and like wish that I hadn't like caused damage to this into this immobile building here. But I'm lumping all that into feeling alive. You know what I mean? This week I felt really alive, and that's what this job has brought to me. And then the other thing too was again job related. Like tonight is my last shift where I'm on my probationary period. So like it's going to be over. All the eyes that are on me.
Now you can kill people like crazy.
Now I can do that without people watching me.
Yeah.
Oh, bad joke.
Yeah.
And lastly here is I've recently discovered the podcast from the New York Times called Opinion, and it's taking like I looked at their list of shows, and I don't know, like I have to dive in. I'll let you know as I listen to them, but like they're taking kind of more of a positive direction in this whole like negative politics here. Like the last one was with Pete Buttigieg. And he's sort of looking to what the Democratic Party and what the left sort of way of thinking is going to be doing after Trumpism, because like Trump's not going to be around forever. Like he's whether he does a third term or whatever, he's an older guy and he's not going to be around forever. And nobody's going to be like we said before, nobody's going to be able to do what he's doing. So what are like our sort of progressive minded people going to be doing when this is over? And I really like that because it's positive. It's rather than just sort of reacting constantly to this shit that we're not being able to fight back in. What are we going to do when it's over? And you can say that that's sort of a defeatist way of looking at it, but like I said, it is going to end. And where are we going to be? And we should be focusing on that. And because right now we're not winning, and nothing we're doing is winning, and all we're doing is just being miserable in this Trump administration. And let's talk about what we're going to be doing, and what we're going to bring to the table after the fact. And I think that's a really positive projection, and that's what I want to be thinking about myself too. So those are my joys. I didn't mean to dump so many on you, but hey, they're joyful joys.
No,
so
that's great.
What's bringing you joy?
Well, first of all, I like, again, and I said this last week when we were talking about like aspects of our partner, in this case you, that we enjoy. Like, I like that your joys are so unique. I think, like, as I made the joke, the yogurt land, what a weird joy. But like, hitting the station house and turning it into something positive, and Pete Buttigieg is like Jessica's big crush, basically.
Oh, really?
He loves that guy. Yeah, so it's fun hearing you talk about that. But my joys. Well, one joy I will say is I got a poster that this wonderful guy sent me from Austin when he was on a trip there. And there was so much prefacing about maybe it's childish and we won't like it. And we're like, oh, what is this going to be? But we opened it up and it's Pee-wee's Playhouse, but very artfully done by a local artist in Austin. Yep. And it looks really cool. And actually on my list today was going to get a frame for it so we could put it up, but I did not quite make it to that. So that was one of my joy. And as I said at the top of the show, my other joy is getting the stitches out of my mouth, because just eating was precarious and painful, and it's really nice to, I mean, like it's still tender and stuff, but like it's not scary to eat, which I lost like 5 pounds last week.
Oh, nice. Well, that's what you wanted, right?
Yeah. I wasn't moving. There were days where I lost like 1.5 pounds, and so that's probably not the healthiest thing in the world, but but yeah, it feels really nice to be able to do things again, eat, move, get into bed.
Well, I'm glad you guys like that poster, because I knew you would like it. I thought the boys would like it. I wasn't sure if Jess would find it to be a little too immature, but I guess she thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I mean, it's an artsy little photo, and you only see on the top it says Pee-wee on the top, but otherwise, if you don't recognize his playhouse, you're not going to know what it is. And there were 2 of them. So I sent you the day one, and there was a night one, and I thought maybe I should get the night one. But I was like, you know what? This is it's a daytime drawing. And this artist does a lot of like unreal places. Like he has a lot of like Simpsons, like Moe's Tavern and stuff drawn sort of realistically, and he has like a day and night version of them and that kind of thing. That's fun. I thought it was cool. And originally I was going to get it for myself. I'm like, because I got a magnet for you. I saw this little Pee-wee. It said like it was a magnet of Pee-wee Herman, and it said Austin on it. I'm like, well, that's cool. I'll get this for Skip. And then like right away I saw this thing. I'm like, no, this is way better. And so I have that little magnet on my little metal trash can at home. But I was so much happier to find that thing. I thought it was original, and it was cool. And I know you were wanting to spiff up your living space a little bit, and I thought it would be a good addition.
Very kind of you. Yeah, let me actually show you one thing. I'll hold on a second.
Okay.
Just to allay any worries about whether or not this is too kid-like or something. When we were living in Indiana, I got some art, and this is, I don't know if you can see this. Yeah.
Tales of Tesla, War of the Currents. That's so funny. Edison triumphs. Oh, Edison triumphant. Yeah, that's funny. That's very, so for anyone listening, if we are keeping this anyway, it's a comic book-ish drawing of, what is it? I guess that's Edison, or I can't really tell if that's Tesla zapping the other scientist.
No, it's Edison zapping Tesla.
With the Tesla coil. Is that what? No, with a light bulb. That's funny. Yeah, it looks cool though. It looks really cool.
Yeah, it's basically just like comic book art, a comic book cover for, a fake thing, Tales of Tesla. And, and it's and Tesla looks more like Freddie Mercury than Tesla, but that only enhances it for me. But it's, it's basically a comic book cover that we've got framed on our wall.
but it looks neat. It looks neat. And that's why I said I knew you would like the Pee-wee thing. I just didn't know if it'd be too much for your better half.
Yeah, no, we're good. We good.
Good.
Thanks for joining us. New podcasts every Wednesday. And if any part of this show has resonated with you, let us know at outsidethemanosphere@gmail.com, Instagram, Facebook, and now YouTube. Please like, rate, subscribe to the podcast, YouTube channel, or recommend us to a friend. We hope you'll come back.
Bye-bye now.
Ciao.